Welcome back to Homeopathy at Home with Melissa. Hey, Melissa.
Hey Bree, it's great to be here.
I'm really looking forward to today. It's exciting because it's a little bit of a teaser, but also it's about menstrual disorders. So something a lot of our listeners are going to use or can use this information. Do you want to give us a little background on what today is going to be and what's coming up?
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about right now today in this podcast, we're gonna talk about PMS just a little bit, and some great remedies for PMS and menstrual disorders. We're just gonna hit a few of the top remedies and their keynote symptoms. And if you need more, want more, look out for the course that Bree and I are going to teach together coming up, or depending on when you've listened to this, it might already be out. So look at my courses tab at melissacrenshaw.com, and it'll likely be called menstrual disorders. We don't have it, all together yet, but we'll go into great detail about menstrual disorders and the top remedies for those things. So let's just get started with PMS. So PMS can be very severe, which will be like PMDD, and there can be physical symptoms like craving, swollen breasts, bloating, sometimes diarrhea or constipation. Different women get different things, and then or it can be emotional, irritability, anger, weepy, crying easily, all the emotional things that come along with PMS for some women. And having suffered from PMS for many years, my heart goes out to those of you who are suffering from PMS, and homeopathy can absolutely help. The top remedy for PMS and menstrual disorders is sepia. And so sepia is a huge hormone and liver remedy. And some of the keynote symptoms of sepia are that most women who need sepia have been on birth control pills in the past. Even if it was for a short amount of time, a long time ago, then, that can really mess with your hormones. So you could still probably use sepia if you're having a lot of these symptoms. So they're extremely irritable. They're really indifferent, especially towards their family. So they're more irritable and more indifferent towards their family than anybody else. So they might go to work and just be happy and like you would never know anything was wrong. But at home, they're just really, really irritated with the ones that they love the most. And then when it's over, the sepia is like, oh man, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't want to behave that way. I don't know why I do. And in the moment, they know that it's irrational behavior, but they literally can't stop it.
Can't control it. Yeah.
They want to. They don't want to be that way. So they're so remorseful at the end, but then they only have 2 or 3 weeks of relief, and then it happens again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a week and sometimes 2 before every period. So they feel just too busy, overwhelmed, like nobody cares, nobody loves them, and they're doing everything for everybody, and they feel bogged down by motherhood and womanhood, and they don't want to play with their children. They're touched out. Everybody wants a piece of them. Everybody wants to touch them, and they're like, if one more person touches me, and I've been there. I feel that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Libido is low. And sometimes there can be hot flashes. More in the menopausal stages would be hot flashes. But let's see. Sepia keynotes, irritable, tired. Go ahead, Bree.
Is sepia something you would use even for a young teenager or maybe in college who has extreme PMS symptoms?
Good question. I wouldn't start there with the younger girls. I would start with Pulsatilla with the younger girls.
Okay.
And Pulsatilla is one that we'll go into great detail in the course about. We're not going to hit that one tonight, I don't think. But the younger girls, I would do Pulsatilla. And then so, there's no hard and fast rules in homeopathy, but when you get into your 20s, and you have these symptoms, or you've ever been on birth control. So maybe, the doctor put you on birth control at 16 because of heavy periods or acne or, whatever they do that for.
Yeah.
Then you could use sepia if you're having these symptoms. But so top keynotes for sepia: irritable with family, tired, indifferent, nothing really gives them pleasure like it used to, too many demands on them, they feel dragged down, and a loss of libido. So it could be a low libido, but it could also be just a total loss. Like,
And now is
don't,
that libido just premenstrually, or is that always? Could that be an indicator at all the time?
it could be all the time,
Okay.
especially in menopause. But for PMS, while you're still having periods, I think it could be either or. I think it could be, a
Okay.
loss. So here's my thing. Before you start your period, it's normal. Is it not normal? Like, I don't
I feel
know.
like it's fairly normal. Okay, so when you think about, I would expect libido to be highest during ovulation,
That's right. Mhm.
and then maybe little by little, like taper off some.
Right.
But I don't know that there's a standard, actually.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because we have to remember what our libido is for. You know,
Right.
God made it for us
Yeah.
to recreate. And so, women, when you're in menopause and you're trying to increase your libido, I'm not saying it's impossible or that you can't or shouldn't,
It
um,
might change.
but it goes down for a reason. So we'll get into that more in the
Yeah.
course.
And of course, okay.
Yeah. So that's that. Those are the main things with sepia. What's our next remedy, Bree?
The next remedy we're going to cover tonight is Lycopodium. You may be more familiar with Lycopodium for indigestion,
Mhm.
but it's a really great PMS remedy also. It's also another irritability remedy, um, maybe a little bit more emotional and tearful during PMS, accompanied with a lot of anxiety. And one of the keynotes of Lycopodium, and I'll go over this again right at the end, is a lack of self-confidence. So
Mhm.
really feeling down, and maybe this is noticeably lower premenstrually.
Yeah.
Um, and again, more tearful, more irritable during that time. It can look a little bit like pulsatilla. So that wanting reassurance, wanting to maybe be physically touched, and tearful, like pulsatilla is a little bit. Um, it often, like a podium, will have more physical symptoms maybe than some of the other remedies. So you'll notice bloating. And if you're familiar with like a podium, it's a big bloating remedy. So this is pretty extreme. Breast tenderness, maybe sugar cravings. And one of the other keynotes is the afternoon, the tired in the afternoon with like a swing of energy or a surge of energy again after like 8 p.m.
Mm.
Maybe there will be migraines also. So some of the keynotes of Lycopodium are that breast tenderness, the low self-confidence, bloating, sugar cravings.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Because lycopodium is a big liver remedy, so the sugar cravings and the
Yes.
bloating. Yeah. Makes
Yep.
sense. Okay.
And you
Did I
know
say
what?
I was,
Sorry to interrupt you. A
yeah.
little side note. I just noticed sepia and Lycopodium are both big liver remedies
Yeah.
and both
Mhm.
really good for hormones.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know
Mm.
what exactly that means, but I just
Right.
know it's a link. So
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
I'd say that.
Often what I see in my practice is women with liver, hormone, and gut issues. Like, it's almost like a trio that always goes together. Not always, but yeah, there's just
Well, I would say it's probably hard to distinguish when it's a liver. Like I know a lot about my body, a lot about a lot of things with my body, but not my liver.
right.
You know, I'm not like,
Yeah,
oh, it's my liver acting up
my
again.
liver.
But
Yeah.
now that I know what to look for, I actually have noticed a lot more liver things than I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to label it. Anyway, our next remedy is
Is it
which,
Lacasses? Did I
yes,
say I was going to do Lacasses? Okay.
yeah,
Very insecure. Lacasses is very insecure and jealous. And so this is a a change from the norm. So, okay, Lacasses can be, if they're always like this, just not just with PMS, then it's something you could take chronically, ongoing. But if it's just PMS, so sometimes these feelings of insecurity, jealousy, the need to defend themselves, and they can really cut you with their words. If all that is just PMS, then you could, still uproot that using Lacasses every month, or, ongoing. If these are the feelings that you get every single month, then you might think of Lacasses. So they want to hurt you. They want to wound you, and they're aggressive and spiteful. And then they say, I'm a horrible person. I say terrible things to my children. They and just like Sepia, afterwards they're like, I didn't mean it. I don't know why I said those things. I don't want to say those things, so really, most women who behave this way, they really don't want to. It's almost impossible to contain yourself. It's because of the hormones just being out of balance. So they can do things that are destructive and mean. And the main keynote about Lacasses, the minute they start bleeding, they completely feel better. They're back to normal. Everything else feels better. So it's that better for discharge. As soon as it comes out, they're like a whole new person. So also Lacasses is very bloated, and they're very sensitive to this bloating. So they feel like they have a lot of fluid retention, and that their skin feels tight, and they don't like tight clothing. So they're not going to wear, if the pants feel too tight around the middle, they're not going to wear those pants. They're going to find, sweatpants or whatever else that's stretchy, because they cannot take the feeling of the tightness while they're bloated.
Which that might be every single person on their period ever.
Maybe
that's not.
That's what I would think. But sometimes I see women with, something like, I'm one of those. I can't stand really tight stuff pushing in on my belly. So when I see women with like something really tight pushing in, I'm like, oh, it looks so uncomfortable. But
okay, and that is true. I usually actually prefer like those really good tight leggings, because it feels good for it to be squeezed. But my sister will be like taking all these clothes off. I'm putting on, she'll like borrow my dad's sweatpants, like I need something that barely is on me.
Barely. Yeah, that's what I like. Just barely touch me. Hot flashes Lacasses can also have. Okay. So those are your main keynotes and symptoms of Lacasses. What's our next remedy?
Our next and our last remedy for tonight is Magfoss.
Okay, good one.
The greatest little remedy for many things, but we love Magfoss. Magfoss is really, really great for cramping. Yes. And I've recently heard more women having premenstrual cramping. I don't think I realized this was as much of a thing that women deal with. I only ever had them during my period. I always never had cramping before, ever. And I've heard it. Yeah, isn't that funny? So I really was, I guess, just totally naive to that. And so Magfoss could be good for premenstrual cramps, but you're also your period cramps. These are also good for neuralgic pain relief in general, especially when they just are radiating and strong. Better for heat. So, I mean, that's often you put a heating pad or something, or a hot bath, you could take Magfoss. And Magfoss also can work really well in hot water. Yes. Which is not common. So just think better for heat. Better bending over. So you might want to lay down and curl up with the heating pad. It's worse for cool or cold air. So sometimes worse at night, worse for stretching out. You just want to like crumple up and squeeze together. And maybe you'll want to moan or like complain or whine if you're crampy, which I don't blame people for that. So
I'm
I
laughing
love,
because I used to do that, not with period cramps, but when I was sick, I would moan and it would drive my mom crazy. She was like, could you please? It made me feel better to moan.
isn't it funny? Okay, I remember feeling that way, and I wish I would have known this postpartum, the postpartum cramps. Oh my word, moaning
Uh-huh.
made me feel better. Like I would lay there and really had to be like, I'm not going to do that on here. It's going to be
Yeah.
awkward. Let's just make that noise.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everyone. I didn't do that. But it was pretty terrible. Um, so that's McFoss. You can
Okay.
take that, just to clarify, we say this in our classes. You can take that in a 6X.
Mhm.
Because it's a cell salt, you'll commonly see it that way. But I know, Melissa, you used it in the 200C and
Yeah,
it works really well for you.
I like 200.
So feel free to try different potencies with that one.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't feel
and that's
stuck.
all the remedies.
Yeah. So what I want to do is, just encourage you to join us in the menstrual disorders class. And again, depending on when you're listening to this, it might be coming out, it might already be out, but I'm going to go quickly through. We're going to go into a lot more detail on sepia. And we're going to go into nux vomica, not a common menstrual disorder remedy that you would normally think of. We're going to go into a lot more detail on Lycopodium and Lacasses. And I'm just going down my list here. We're going to do Laccaninum in that course. We are going to do the anterior pituitary gland as a remedy. We're going to do that one. And chamomilla, which makes sense, right? For that
Yeah.
being upset. We're going to talk about dysmenorrhea, which is painful periods. We're going to talk about the remedy viburnum. And let's see, what else have we got on here? Magfoss we just did. We'll do Magfoss again just to include it in the course. It's a short little remedy, but we'll go into detail on caulifilum.
Xanthoxylum. Just tell me when you're back and you can hear me. Hey, what kind of bad thing happened? Like, did we lose it all?
Do what?
Did we lose it all?
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
It still says recording.
I know. I doubt that we lost it all. I bet it'll be there. I'm just going
Okay,
to keep going.
keep
So
going. So you stopped right when you were about to pronounce xanthoxylum or whatever that is.
really, so you missed all that. Okay.
Oh, how long did you keep talking?
Well, not, oh gosh, a little bit. Okay. All right. We're also going to do a very, a little remedy called xanthoxylum, Dioscorea, Helonius, which I often think of for blood sugars, but it's looks like a pretty big menstrual disorders remedy. We're going to talk about menorrhagia, which is very heavy periods and the remedies for that. So we'll go into great detail about remedies for that, and which is 1, 2, 3, 4 remedies and probably more. So usually when I'm creating a course, I do more than what I planned. So just come and learn all about these remedies, how you can use them. You'll learn some protocols. You'll learn, how to use them just, outside of a protocol. And I hope you'll join us in that class. Have a great night.